Do you know what Jelly Bellies and candy corn have in common? Or candy canes and circus peanuts? Let's visit 5 classic and historic candy factories to find out. Welcome to Pop Culture Passport, your ultimate guide to quirky and cool destinations across the US. I'm your host, Beth Scalacci, aka the Roman Yeti, here to help you dive into the world of theme parks, uncover film and TV locations, and explore quirky museums, roadside attractions, and legendary venues that capture the heart and soul of this unique country. So grab your pop culture passport and let's discover destinations that resonate with your interest, not just with what's trending on social media. Are you ready? Let's roam! Welcome back. Last week, I shared our experience of visiting Mr. Ed's Elephant Museum and Candy Emporium. And honestly, I think between that and thinking about sweets for Valentine's Day, I started looking into candy companies that you can visit and experience some sort of tour at. And as I did my research, I found so many cool ones with amazing histories. And that started my list getting a little long. So this will be a two-parter with the second episode coming out next week. But for this week, I want to visit 5 classic and historic candy factories. And next week, we will visit some amazing chocolate factories. So let's get into it. First up, let's head to the PEZ Visitor Center in Orange, Connecticut. Now, this was all news to me. Did you know that PEZ started as a breath mint? It was first created in 1927 in Vienna, Austria by Edward Haas III. And the name PEZ, well, it actually comes from the German word for peppermint. And I know you're ready for me to butcher this, right? So Pfefferminz, they took the first, middle, and last letters, and I thank them for that so that I didn't have to say that word every time. But here's the surprising part. PEZ wasn't originally for kids. In fact, it was marketed as a breath mint for adults and even as an alternative to smoking. And the first dispensers, they weren't colorful or shaped like your favorite cartoon characters. They actually looked like cigarette lighters. Crazy. So in 1949, an inventor named Oscar Uxa came up with the spring-loaded dispenser design that we recognize today. It was meant to be a more hygienic way to pop out a mint, but PEZ really took off in the 1950s when they realized kids were obsessed with the little dispensers. That's when they started adding character heads, and just like that, a pop culture icon was born. The first ones, they had Santa Claus, Popeye, and of course, our buddy Mickey Mouse. It wasn't until 1973 that PEZ opened its first US factory in Orange, Connecticut. This helped them meet the growing American demand for PEZ, and today it's also home to the PEZ Visitor Center. So, what can you do at the PEZ Visitor Center? Apparently, a lot. You can see the world's largest PEZ dispenser, and of course, you have to take a picture with that. That's a given. There is a PEZ museum, which has a huge collection of dispensers from different decades, including rare and vintage designs that you're just not going to see anywhere else. You can actually watch PEZ being made. One of the coolest part is that you can see the PEZ in action. And there's a viewing area where you can watch the candy being packaged, and they also have like behind the scenes videos showing how the dispensers themselves were made. Now, just a heads up, and this is going to be with pretty much all of these factories. Um, the production floor isn't always operational, so you may not be able to see stuff live. Apparently, the PEZ production floor isn't always operational on weekends or holidays, so keep that in mind. You might want to check ahead. So just, fair warning. You can also, if the largest PEZ dispenser wasn't enough for your photo op, you can snap a photo with the PEZ motorcycle. Yeah, you heard that right. There is a PEZ themed motorcycle inside the visitor center. It's again one of those popular photo ops, and you gotta check that out, right? I mean, how often are you gonna see that? Now, if you ever wondered how those tiny flavor packed jelly beans are made, The Jelly Belly factory in Fairfield, California is the place for you to go. From humble beginnings to becoming a presidential favorite and even going to space, Jelly Belly's journey is just as fascinating as its ever expanding lineup of flavors. So, Jelly Belly's origins date back to 1869 when Gustav Golitz, that name sounds familiar, right? You're trying to process? You'll know here in a second. He was a German immigrant who started making mellow cream candies. So, the caramel with the cream inside? Yeah, that guy. I love him. Thank you for your service, sir. Um, he, also made, not a popular with everyone I know, but also was responsible for the original candy corn. And this was made in Belleville, Illinois. Now, we're going to fast forward to 1924 when Gustav's son, Herman Gulitz, took the family business west to California. And this laid the foundation for what would eventually become the Jelly Belly Candy Company. But the real magic happened in 1960s when the company started experimenting with jelly beans. Sign me up for those experiments. They developed a smaller, more flavorful mini jelly bean that used natural flavoring in both the center and the shell. And this was something that had never been done before. In 1976, David Klein, a candy distributor, teamed up with Herman Roland, grandson of Herman Gulitz, to create a premium jelly bean, using this technique, and they called it Jelly Belly. And this name was inspired by the blues musician Lead Belly. So again, I'm learning so much. I don't know if you guys know these things, but it's fascinating. And then we got the presidential seal of approval. In the 1980s, Ronald Reagan publicly declared his love for Jelly Belly, even ordering a special blueberry flavor for his 1981 presidential inauguration. From that moment on, Jelly Belly became a household name. By 1983, they had made history by being the first jelly bean in space when NASA sent them aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger. So, what are some of the flavors Jelly Belly is known for? Well, they're famous for pushing the limits from classic fruity options to totally unexpected ones. Some of their more well-loved flavors are very cherry. They say well-loved buttered popcorn. I'm not sure. Licorice, sizzling cinnamon, and watermelon. And of course, they're also known for the wacky flavors like their Bean Boozled challenge, which includes mystery flavors ranging from delicious to downright disgusting. Yeah, I'm not even going to read those names out loud, but they're bad. And if you've ever played or you've done the Harry Potter jelly beans, it's a risky game of jelly bean roulette for sure. Now, the Jelly Belly factory tour is in Fairfield, California, and there's a few things you can expect and see and check out when you're there. One, you can walk through a viewing gallery and watch the multi-step process of jelly bean production. Next, like I said, not every stage is going to be happening, but there are videos and exhibits explaining each part, so you can still sort of see what's going on. The factory has interactive displays and exhibits showcasing Jelly Belly's journey from its candy corn origins to a global sensation. I don't know why it just makes me laugh that basically this company went from candy corn to jelly bean. And I love that glow up for them, right? I mean, yes. Of course, no Jelly Belly tour is going to be complete without free samples. You'll get to try some of their most popular flavors, and maybe even a few experimental ones that aren't on store shelves yet. The tour features hands-on exhibits where you can test your candy knowledge and learn about flavor science. One of the coolest things to see is the incredible Jelly Belly art, where famous portraits and images are created entirely out of thousands of jelly beans. And at the end of the tour, you're going to end up in a shop. I mean, that's how it works, right? Um, You can find jelly beans, and they even have these things called belly flops, which are slightly imperfect jelly beans sold at a discount. And the factory also holds holiday themed events, candy making demonstrations, and other special activities throughout the year. So there's always something new to experience. Check the calendar if you're going to be in that area. Sounds like a great place to stop. Next up, we are heading to Bryan, Ohio, which is home to a candy company that's been around for over a century, the Spangler Candy Company. And if you've ever enjoyed a Dum Dum lollipop, a candy cane, or even a Necco wafer, you have Spangler to thank for it. The story of Spangler Candy Company starts back in 1906 when Arthur G. Spangler bought the Gold Leaf Baking Powder Company. Yes, you heard me right. It was a baking powder company, and he purchased it for $450. Back then, the company wasn't even making candy. It was making baking soda, spices, and other kitchen essentials. Well, that all changed in 1908 when Arthur's brother Ernest joined the business and suggested maybe they should start making candy. Turns out, as we all know, it was a great idea. Over time, Spangler expanded its lineup, introducing some of America's most iconic sweets. And while the company has grown massively over the year, it's still family owned. It's now run by the fourth generation of Spanglers, and their deep roots in Bryan, Ohio are so strong that the city's water tower is painted with a giant Dum Dum lollipop. Iconic, iconic landmark. Want to see it for sure. Now, Spangler is behind some legendary candies, including I mentioned the Dum Dum Pops, those little lollipops that when I was a kid seemed to be everywhere, bank lobbies, doctor's offices, um, you named it. It was a reward, right? If you're of a certain age, you remember that. There's Safety Pops, which were the lollipops that had the loop style stick, apparently making them a safer option for young children than a straight stick. Yeah, I don't know. That's what they say. Candy canes. Spangler is one of the largest manufacturer of candy canes in the US. Circus peanuts, love them or hate them. Those marshmallow treats are a Spangler classic. And also Necco wafers and sweethearts. The conversation hearts, sweethearts, Spangler. We can thank them for those. So if you are in or near Bryan, Ohio, you can visit Spangler Candy World, which is part museum, part interactive candy experience. And while you can't walk through the factory itself, they have created a lot of fun ways to sort of see how that magic happens. You can learn about the history. There's a museum with vintage packaging, artifacts, and family stories. You can test your candy knowledge with trivia and hands-on activities. There's even a STEM learning section that breaks down the science behind candy making and from the chemistry of flavors to engineering of the machines. Now, I want to point out again, being of a certain age, if this is how I got to learn science in school, I probably would have been much more interested in it. Not gonna lie. Chemistry of flavors. Yes, please. Thank you very much. But let me go on. Sorry. Since visitors can't tour the actual factory, Spangler Candy World offers big screen factory tour. It's really fun video presentation, kid friendly storyline. It features the Dum Dum Drum Man, if you remember him from the from the ads, and of course, no candy trip is complete without a visit to the retail shop. You'll find classic treats, rare and seasonal flavors, and even some nostalgic candy you may not have seen in years. So, from giant Dum Dum Pops to the Sweethearts Chapel, yes, an actual chapel filled with oversized conversation hearts, there are plenty of fun spots to snap those pictures. Now, if you are familiar with the Dum Dum Pops, one of the most famous things about them is the mystery flavor. But did you know it's not actually random? The mystery flavor is created when one batch of lollipops transitions to the next. meaning it's always a blend of two different flavors. So every time you grab one of those mystery Dum Dum Pops, you're getting a unique combination. Honestly, they always tasted the same to me, so this was news to me. So, you know, I'm gonna be on the lookout for a mystery pop, just saying. Now, if you love handmade old-fashioned candy, then you're gonna wanna check out Hammond's Candies in Denver, Colorado. This company has been handcrafting sweets for over a decade, and today they're known for everything from candy canes to caramel-covered marshmallows. Yum. It all started in 1920 when Carl T. Hammond Sr. founded Hammond's Candy Company with a simple mission to make high-quality, handcrafted confections in the early sorry. That was it. Handcrafted confections. In the early days, Carl did it all. He developed recipes, he made the candy, he even sold it himself. And for decades, Hammond's remained a family run business passing through generations. Now, in the 1990s, Hammond's went from a local treasure to a national brand thanks to a partnership with Williams Sonoma, which put their products on the map. Since then, they've expanded, but their commitment to handmade small batch candy hasn't changed. Now, Hammond's Candy makes a wide variety of classic sweets, but a few stand out as their most iconic. I mentioned candy canes, and I remember seeing these on Food Network. Um, these hand-pulled, hand-twisted candy canes. They come in a variety of flavors beyond just peppermint. But I just remember seeing how this was done, and it was so cool. There's something called Mitchell sweets, which if you are familiar with these, I want to I want to hear about it. Caramel covered marshmallows. Yeah, two of my favorite things. Honey Cocos, I believe is how it's said. Carl Sr.'s first original candy creation is a chocolate treat topped with shredded coconut. Ribbon candy, again, one of those nostalgic, handmade, delicate holiday treats. Um, Other caramels, big, those oversized lollipops that you, you think of from like boardwalks and so forth. They make those. And speaking of boardwalks, they also make saltwater taffy. Um, so a really sort of nostalgic, cool place. And if you're in Denver, it's a must do for candy lovers. You can take a tour, which is through a viewing area that you can watch real candy. You might, depending on time of year and what's going on, you might get to see candy canes being pulled and twisted or lollipops being shaped. Um, Again, with varying production schedule, it'll depend what you see and where, but they do have videos and explanations to sort of fill in the gaps. You can learn the history through guides from their humble beginnings to their national brand. And of course, free samples. You can definitely get to try some of their signature treats. And you'll get to see the equipment, like seeing some of those old school copper kettles and the candy cane pulling machines. I mean, that's very cool. Sounds like a fun place. Definitely someplace. I mean, I want to see all these places, but I sort of like the nostalgia of the hand pulled kind of stuff. Now, if you're searching for something a little different, something with a real taste of Florida, then you're going to want to check out Davidson of Dundee in Dundee, Florida. Now, this is a family-run business that has been making handcrafted citrus candies, jellies, and chocolates for generations, and this is the place for bold citrus flavors. Now, the roots of Davidson of Dundee go all the way back to the early 1900s when T.W. Davidson started a small citrus grove near Dundee, Florida. His son grew up surrounded by fresh oranges, grapefruits, and tangerines, but it was his mother's homemade citrus candies that really sparked something special. So, inspired by these homemade sweets, Glenn began perfecting his own recipes using real citrus juice and candy and sugar cane from the Florida Everglades. The result? a local sensation. People couldn't get enough of these bright, tangy, and totally unique citrus confections. Now it's still family run and it still uses sun ripened Florida fruit. Now you can stop by there and you can definitely check out the different citrus delicacies in orange, lemon, key lime, tangerine, just really, really different. And they've even added some new flavors like fuzzy navel, Florida hurricane, and sunset jelly, apparently, just, to keep things interesting. They have handcrafted marmalades and jellies, coconut patties and chocolate. Um, Again, you can see a full factory tour. You can watch, you can see some of the techniques. They are happy to let you try before you buy, so you can definitely check out some free samples of jellies and candies and chocolates. And of course, you can shop for, these citrus candies and make sure you take some home. Now, these are just some of the historic and iconic candy factories that I would love to check out. They have such rich histories. There's definitely something on this list to satisfy every sweet tooth. But next week, we're going to visit some chocolate factories across the US that you can visit and check out. And there's a few. There's one that's super, super unique. Actually, there's several. Um, I'm really looking forward to sharing these with you. If you've been to any of these places, please comment and let me know. I love to hear about it. So for today's Yeti's Pop Pick, I'm being a little selfish. It's about the roaming Yeti bingo card that I created. I gotta be honest with you, when it's cold out and sort of the busyness of the holidays is over, that January, February, beginning of March, I just get really sort of feeling down and unmotivated. I don't even feel like leaving the house, which is pretty unusual for me. So sometimes I just need that little extra motivation to get out the door, check out something new. So I created the new Roaming Yeti bingo card. It's a fun way to keep track of your roaming, and it will inspire you to try something different just to get those, squares crossed off. It's totally free. Just head to the Roaming Yeti website at theroamingyeti.com and subscribe to my newsletter, which I'm calling the Yeti Chronicles. And the bingo card will be sent right to your inbox. Now, my goal with the new newsletter is to just sort of give you a little extra information, a few more tips that, some information about events, some things that I'm just not always able to put, into a podcast episode. And look, I'm trying to avoid doom scrolling these days on social media. So I'm really hoping to put some of those little finds, some of those little tips in my newsletter. I think it'll be a fun place where I can connect with you guys and just share and hopefully give me input on shows and what you want to see in the future. So head over to the website and please sign up and get that bingo card and get out there and roam. And with that, we add another stamp to our pop culture passport, and I hope that this episode inspires you to get out and explore all that is quirky and cool, even in your own backyard. So follow, download, and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Please tell a friend and leave a review if you like what we're doing. It really helps the show to grow. You can also follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Just search for The Roaming Yeti. Keep roaming and finding your fun.